I know you addressed this on the Orange and Brown podcast. What do you think Ken Dorsey can do to get him back into that, top 10, whatever it was, status as an NFL quarterback?
Well, Ken has spent the bulk of his career, his entire career really, working with Cam Newton and Josh Allen. And so, he's going to really be able to bring over everything that he has learned from working with those guys and apply it to Deshaun Watson for the most part. Now, those guys are bigger. They run, they have a power running game about them. You cannot do that with Deshaun Watson or he's going to get hurt. So you have to modify that. You have to pivot from that. But for the most part, there are things that can cross over from those guys to him. And, there's just a lot of the spread concepts, the RPO concepts, and then the drop back world that he basically learned from Brian Daboll, which came from, Bill O'Brien and that should translate well because Bill O'Brien coached Deshaun Watson. So I think there's some of that element there.
We've seen flashes of it. Do you think he still has that top 10 quarterback in him? I mean, you go back to that Ravens second half, and, I hate to point individual things, but you saw some elite quarterback play at times from Deshaun Watson.
Yes, I still think he has it in him. And as long as he can stay healthy, I think that you will see more of that quarterback that you saw in the second half of that Baltimore game. But here's a point that I've been making on our podcast and elsewhere, and I'll probably write something about this fairly soon. And that is Deshaun Watson has not played a full season since 2020. And I think there are development issues that might go along with that everyone has to kind of take into account. He's not just picking up where he left off in 2020, and neither are defenses or defensive coordinators. Defensive coordinators have now had more opportunities to work with these dual threat quarterbacks and try to figure out ways to solve them and work against them. And then in that time when you're playing, say he had played all of 2021, all of 2022 and 23. You pick things up, you learn things along the way, and the game slows down for you. He hasn't had that full season to be able to do that. Whereas his classmate from 2017, Patrick Mahomes, he's seen everything in those amount of years. He's seen the new stuff that defensive coordinators are throwing at him. He's seen the old stuff, everything in between, and he's just gotten that much more experience. So I think to expect that Deshaun can just pick up where he left off in 2020 and that there won't be some other things that you have to take into account, that would be silly. All those things have to be accounted for.